Greetings, everybody. This painting that I'm showing you, I bought it in Rome, and I did so only because someone told me not to. On my tour, the tour guide told us, do not buy anything from the Africans. Of course, I was the black girl sitting at the back. I'm sure if he saw me, he wouldn't have said that. So I made sure I bought something from the African, and I've had it for many years. The point of starting out the video with that is to say that I've never really been the type of person that allow anyone to tell me what to do, how to be, where to go. I've done some things in my life that when I look at them now, I don't think I'd have the courage to do it again. Maybe, maybe not. Just take risks that have paid off, but they were risks nonetheless. And people who didn't understand or people who didn't have my vision, thought it was insane. So what I'm trying to say in this video now is looking at visions, and we're not just talking about dreams. We're talking about looking down the road and to examine some things that you would want to see in your life, or some things that you have got no choice that is going to be forced upon you. Because trust me, a lot of the things that we have to deal with in life or cope with in life are not choices, things are choices. They're forced upon us by nature or by people in the world. Now, many of us are so focused on this thing, and I'm calling it the thing. The thing that seems to be wreaking havoc on body, mind, and spirit. And I'm shifting away from that now because really the focus is centered on, at this point, who done it, or is this real, or is this happening? To be honest with you, I'm not concerned if it is real or if it is happening. That's not where my focus is. Something is happening. And regardless of what the thing is, or the name of the thing, it doesn't really matter. The point is what's going to happen when the thing leaves. Okay? What is going to be the immediate effect of this thing? So I think it's too late now to be focused on if this thing is here or if it's not here, or if it's true or if it's not true, or if you're being scammed, or, it doesn't matter. No one shuts down the world without a cause. And so for me, I'm just going to examine some things that I know will change as a result of the thing. Okay, so the first thing I'm putting here, or the first thing on my list, is business. There will be, of course, we're seeing how businesses are affected. And when we talk about business, we're talking about jobs simultaneously. So business as we know it is going to change. Now, when you look at how we're shopping now, and I can't lie, I like it. I like the way, you go and you line up and people go in, and people are not allowed to be too greedy and just grab everything for themselves, and we have to share the commodities that are available to us. I like it's more organized, and so it doesn't matter how many people are there, you're in and out in no time. I would mind seeing that stay. I wouldn't mind seeing that stay because it makes for a certain kind of passage that is smoother. So the way we're shopping, and again, when we talk about shopping, we're talking about jobs as well. But it's not new, the fact that things were changing and jobs were being affected. And so overall, when you look at technology and you look at science, and this whole thing has to do with science and technology. So with technology, we see how so many things were changing. Even if you go to the airport, you go to the kiosk and you have to, when you're coming back to report and do everything on the computers yourself, and it can be very challenging to a person who's not technologically savvy, or can be very intimidating for someone like some older folks who are not so versed with technology. But it doesn't matter. You're going to have to learn And of course, for those who are older and don't understand, there's always assistance for them, but you can't use the excuse that I don't know how to do this. You have to learn. So when we talk about robots or robotics, it's that this is not new either. You got what do you call it, vacuum cleaners that can clean your whole house by themselves. You got men who can find women who are robots to go out on dates with. You have robots that can come into your household and do domestic chores. These are things that are here for a long time, not to mention in fighting warfare and so on. I'm sure there's robots on the battlefield. There are times when they're sending, a machine in to examine an area to see how safe it is for soldiers to go in. This is not new. See, technology build on itself. You understand me? And the world as we know it, even in the time when I was born in the 60s, is a complete different time, now. And there are some individuals in the world who feel okay with staying stagnant, but there are other individuals who always want to develop more and more on their ideas. Some of these ideas are destructive, by the way. But as I said before, so business and the way we shop will change. Technology and science is definitely at a very high or advanced stage at this moment. The other thing that is going to change is our relationship with people. And now that was already strained, because the truth is you have your family living in a household, not my family, but there are many people who are in the same household and they're texting instead of talking to each other. They're sitting around the dining table, they go out for dinner, and each person at that table is just eyes are locked into their phone. No family time. So it's not new, but it's going to seal that it's almost like this isolation that we're going through is just practice for the one real thing that is to come. After the spirit is over, you get to the point where you realize that you don't really need anybody, because if you are one of those individuals who got infected, you're forced to stay in social isolation, whether it be in the hospital. And one of the saddest things for me is that I'm hearing reports of individuals dying and their families can't see them. And it's must be very frightening for those who are very ill and frightening for their loved ones. But it is what it is now. So people are isolated and people are now going to get out of this, because we don't know when this is going to end. But by the time it does end, we are going to understand that the other person is not important. And I think there's something in this where there are individuals who probably say, you know what, we have given these individuals the internet, for example, the opportunity to communicate with each other. But that can be very destructive, because through this form, information is shared, some of it true, some of it false information, but people can get together and can do some great damage with this internet business if you're not very careful. And I'm thinking like a person who has an interest in keeping people separated from each other. So relationships are going to change. And again, you already seen that relationships are suffering right now because people are not working, and because of this thing, people are staying home. And you're now finding out that you didn't love your husband, or you didn't like your wife, or you didn't like your kids, because now you're forced to stay at home with them. And all of a sudden, you see, all along with the way things were, people could have stayed together for 20, 30 years because they were always on the run. They worked different shifts and they only see each other once in a while, and the relationship became more of like a business venture. But now you're home, you're forced to look at each other and talk to each other, and a lot of people are finding out that they cannot stand each other. And so this isolation thing is really creating havoc on relationships. But at the same time, when it comes to friendships, you'll find that people are now focused on the technology to stay in touch with people. Technology is at the core of this thing. The way information is this. Okay, leave that for now. So, as I said before, technology and science is key, central theme in this storyline. I'm also going to say something else for those who are afraid that, this is about vaccines and this is about people's intention to inoculate the whole world and then get vaccines to do whatever. I don't care. I have no time to worry about what anybody's intention is, because one thing I do know is that a handful of people cannot force the whole world to take part in anything unless the people give them permission. Can I repeat that? A handful of people does not, have never ever had the power to control the whole earth without the participation of the people. And because somehow they're individuals who are very cunning or very smart, or when it comes to mind control, they know how to control some people's minds. But in general, a handful of people cannot force the earth or the world to do anything, because there's not enough prisons to hold the world. There's not enough soldiers to, the soldiers in the world are a fraction of the rest of people who are free. So to panic and to get all nervous about what a handful of persons are trying to do. I mean, I'm not saying ignore the signs and the symbols that are there telling you people's intention, but at the end of the day, there's no reason to be panicking. There's no reason to be, feeling depressed about what somebody's intention is. We all have our own intention, and others are going to obviously try to force these intentions on us, but we still have free will. Again, we tend to talk as if people, other human being like ourselves, have more power over us. We all are born with this innate thing to think for ourselves and to operate according to the spirit that leads us. And those of us who don't listen to those inner voices are the ones who are easily led. So you have to just know within yourself what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do. And once you've made up your mind, and it doesn't matter how weak somebody is, once they have made up their mind not to do something, you cannot force them. So you look at some people that your people refer to as idiots. But when these individuals make up their mind is like that of a mule. You can't pull it. So again, it is going to be your own free will, your own decision to take or not to take whatever, or to do or not to do whatever. Okay? A handful of the people in the world cannot force the world to do anything they don't want to do. So anything that is rolled out after the thing leaves and finds prominence in this world and in this time, it's because of our participation in it. But for sure, jobs are going to be affected, because if I'm a business person and I would have lost a lot of money during this time, and I find out that, if I was still able to conduct some business, and I find out that I don't need all the staff, and I see how much money I made from not having so much manpower, of course I'm going to stay. No one ever changes a system that works for them. If you find out that this is working, even though it might have been stressful in getting this thing started and getting it up off the ground, but you find out that this method works, you're not going to go back. What is also going to change is religion. So again, this is a very special time when we see people getting switched out of their places of worship. You see individuals told that you don't need to come and congregate now because of what is happening. Stay safe and be isolated, and let's stop the flow of this thing. But if you can spend 3 or 4 or 5 months and you don't have to go to this place of congregation, where is your relationship with the God that you serve? Because then if you were able to suspend, because people always make it seem like it's the building, is where the building, when you go to the building, that's when you meet the Savior, or you meet the Creator. And if you are forced out of that building, and what you were forced to do at this point, which is not a bad thing, is to spend one-on-one time with who you believe to be your God. And so at the end of this day, what will people do? What will people do? What will be their approach towards the church or religion be? That's where this thing is. And also, I'm going to say that after this thing leaves, there will be a head church, which always was, but there'll be a head body that will then sort of come back into prominence, one that found themselves, losing the young people who had no interest in their lives, to be honest with you. But now they will get the permission from someone who you think is at the head, and now they will come back, just like that same thing in the scriptures. I do read the scriptures, and I don't believe everything in it literally, but I also believe, and I'm going to read that. I'm going to prove to you. I'm going to read something from Plato, and I'm going to show you how that refers to the Bible. And so you can understand that the stuff that's in the Bible is not like it's all false, but I'm telling you where it comes from and where people get the mindset that they have now as it relates to the Bible or religion and so on. Don't want to stay too long in this one, but yeah, the business will change, jobs will be affected, science and technology will take front stage, relationships that are suffering, or at least people will get an open eye to the type of relationships that they're in, and be able to determine if it's worth carrying on. But overall, this isolation, this separation between friends, between people, whatever, even though it is in place to cause this thing to go away, at the end of the day, I think if you're able to isolate people and to separate people for a period of time, after a while they get used to the fact that they don't need each other. And when you have folks separated from each other, you can do a better job in getting them to do what you want them to do. Stay blessed, everybody.